It is never a good time to bow down to a tyrant. I've always believed it's the job of the press to hold power to account. I've always tried to do that here at CNN, and I plan on doing all of that in the future. One final message. Don't give in to the lies. Don't give in to the fear. Hold on to the truth and to hope. Even if you have to get out your phone, record that message. I will not give in to the lies. I will not give in to the fear. Post it on your social media so people can hear from you too. I'll have more to say about my plans in the coming days, but until then, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. It has been an honor to be welcomed into your home for all these years. That's the news. Reporting from Washington, I'm Jim Acosta.
And that was a cold open for this edition of Media Watch, folks. And yeah, that was Jim Acosta of CNN announcing the fact that he will no longer be with CNN. Thanks for joining us. I'm Eric Tait.
I'm Raymond Peterson.
I'm Bob Anthony.
And I'm Alan Singer.
And here we are together again, folks, our team trying to make sense of what's been going on. This is Media Watch, being brought to you by the good graces of V Tait Educational Productions, Zoom. It should show up on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, maybe next Monday, who knows, but we'll keep our fingers crossed and try to let you know. But today is January 29, and we're doing this on a bowing down to tyrants, not throwing in the towel when things get rough. Who wants to volunteer to name what's just transpired in the last 8 days? Or as 8 days? Am I corrected?
Didn't they do a series of movies about it called The Purge? But a sick virus that was running around turning the world into zombies.
Jim Acosta didn't name the tyrant, but the current occupant of the White House, a guy whose name we very seldom mentioned when he was trying to get back into the White House, but I guess because he's now occupying the White House again, we could call out his name. The wannabe autocrat, the wannabe tyrant, has hit our country with a blitzkrieg of, what do they call it? Executive orders that basically is a torrent of illegal purging of the previous administration and anything that seems to try to hold up separation of powers and protect the democracy, this attempted democracy that this country has tried to maintain for the last 200 plus years. So what's the worst of the worst that we want to jump off with? What's the first thing that we're pushing back against?
Well, the first
Department of Education.
Today, Carolyn Kennedy did a video attacking her cousin for being crazed and a drug addict who undermined the entire family and is using her father's and her uncle's image to promote himself. He was testifying before the Senate about becoming the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and he knew nothing about the job, and he knew nothing about Health and Human Services. It was a disgrace. But again, the other nominees, Hegseth was a disgrace, and Tulsi is a disgrace. They don't even know what the jobs are.
Those are the cabinet folks that we're going to have to worry about, who are actually going to be dangerous to the well-being of the country. What's worse for the well-being of the country is the fact that these executive orders that have been put in place are now trying to destroy, one, the educational system that's been in place in this country. And I think we could start there because the Department of Education has just changed their website. Bob, you've got stuff on that. Talk to us about, what do you call it? The new age of?
Bob,
no audio, no audio.
Sorry. There was a helicopter going by. I call it the age of official misinformation. And that's exactly what's coming out of the Department of Education right now. If you go to the website and look at the official press releases coming out of the Department of Education, let me just read the headline of one of them. The one dealing with U.S. Department of Education ends Biden's book ban hoax. That's the official headline on an official Department of Education press release. And it says, the complaints allege that, well, let me not read the entire thing. Let me just pull out once. Has
They're
by
claiming
this,
the Biden
by this,
administration was perpetrating a hoax on the country when
yes.
we launched these anti-book banning suits against these various school districts. Go ahead.
There we go. I mean, that's the essence of it. They call it a hoax. That's the official government position of what the Biden administration was trying to do in preventing these book bans. And we have the Brooklyn Public Library's website, the Boston Public Library, the LA County Library, all talking about banned books and what those libraries are doing to keep those in circulation. And then you have the American Library Association, the Freedom to Read statement. And then you have numerous other literary and educational institutions saying that these book bans were real, not a hoax. But that's the official word coming out of the Department of Education. It was a Biden book ban hoax. That's what the American people are being fed right now. And that's bull, you know what?
Yes.
Yeah, in 2023-24, PEN America, which is an organization committed to freedom of expression, they documented over 10,000 instances of individual books being banned school libraries and classrooms. And they included books by The Bluest Eye by Nobel Prize winning author Toni Morrison, Wicked, the book that was the basis for the award-winning musical and movie, Slaughterhouse-Five, The Housemaid's Tale, Forever by Judy Blume.
Handmaid's Tale.
Those were banned and they documented it. So it was not a hoax. It was real, these book bans. And what the Trump DOE said is we're going to restore the fundamental right of a parent to direct their child's education. In reality, the ruling allowed an individual parent with a loud voice to prevent any child in a school district from reading a book, whether their parent liked it or not.
Yeah. And so this is now the official United States Department of Education policy. In the country, across the country, you can ban books willy-nilly if you feel like it without the Department of Education coming after you. My question, Alan, because you know some of these things came about because they were accused of violating Title IX and I believe Title VI. And so suits were filed or complaints were filed using those federal citations to stop the banning. And when DOE didn't respond properly, people would file these suits in court. I don't know whether we still have the option of going back to those days where you have to go to court because you're not going to get the help from the Department of Education now because they're on the side of the book banners.
Well, before you could challenge any book banning in the local court. You could challenge the school, the district. But with this, the Biden administration policy of the Civil Rights Department of the Department of Ed, that had a national impact. You weren't just going school district by school district. Now, people now can go back and go school district by school district, but they also may actually seek legal redress in the courts against the Department of Ed. So that is, again, I'm not a lawyer, but I think that's the direction it's going to go.
Okay, here we go. Looks like two steps forward, and with these people, 10 steps back. Because
now, one of the things that was so disturbing to me, that the Education Department actually announced its decision 3 days before International Holocaust Remembrance Day. So here we want young people to learn about the Holocaust and its implications, and they're running around banning books. like they did in Nazi Germany in the 1930s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw somebody. I wish I had actually written it down and or lined it up, but somebody actually had a quote from Anne Frank's diary about what was being done in communities. And I think it pertained to the roundup of people, ordinary citizens, etc. And I think it was referring to the actual immigration roundup that's going on now and showing the parallels to the roundup of the Jews back in Poland and Nazi Germany back in the Hitler Third Reich days. And so, yeah, this, I guess we could segue from the Department of Education. I know you had something on Harvard already bowing down to the Department of Education because some of the grants that they froze had something to do with higher education. But
Yes.
breaking news is that they have backed off on freezing the federal dollars to these entities. I don't know whether that's because all these Democratic state attorneys general file suit against them for the freeze, because guess what? One of those executive orders was a freeze on federal spending.
It's a freeze on scientific research, which is disturbing.
Everything across the board. It was just the most horrendous thing.
But
And
just
so
China just came out with DeepSeek, or a new AI far ahead and less expensive than the American AI. So here we have our competitors investing heavily in science and tech. At the same time, the United States is defunding or freezing funding on research done by universities. And they're doing it because they want to scare the universities into two things. They want to scare the universities into taking all reference to equity out of their programs, and they want to scare the university to adopting a very questionable definition of anti-Semitism. And that's what Harvard just did. Harvard decided to adopt a definition of anti-Semitism that essentially made any criticism of Israel or Zionism anti-Semitic. So they're using the power of the purse to intimidate and silence disagreement.
Yeah, so they also, Harvard outsourced their initiative.
Yeah.
We had the initiative about let's identify all the folks that we had enslaved over the years and make our university so rich and famous and solvent. And so they'd hired a staff and they were going to actually dig into who those descendants were, identify them, and I presume make good. And they just, without any warning, shut that down, fired the people, walked in, said this no longer exists, et cetera, and outsourced it to some genealogical entity that had been one of their partners in trying to track down who some of these slave descendants, enslaved people's descendants were. But the office that were in Harvard that was funded to do the job closed. And then who they get to protest that, oh yeah, this is going to be good for everything? Henry Louis Gates. That's the guy they got to defend. Oh yeah, let's fire these people without any notification. But I digress. It's part of the anti-DEI, anti-quote woke agenda that this administration is pushing. But one of the biggest anti-DEI for me was his executive order banning birthright citizenship. You cannot get more exclusionary than a child that's born in the United States not being a United States citizen. That's the biggest anti-DEI move he made. Totally unconstitutional. Talk to us about that.
Well, a federal district court judge in the state of Washington, his name is Coffenor, I believe. I don't know how he pronounces it. He actually signed a restraining order that temporarily blocked Trump's executive order rescinding birthright citizenship. The judge called it a blatantly unconstitutional order. This is what he said: I have difficulty understanding how a member of the bar would state unequivocally that this is a constitutional order. It boggles my mind. The 14th Amendment refers to people, not to citizens, people who are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. The Trump lawyers were claiming all these people, the undocumented, these children of undocumented, were not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. And the judge said, are you telling me that if they commit a traffic violation or a crime, you're not going to arrest them? Because they're
Well,
not
you know,
subject to your jurisdiction.
But they consider the fact if you're an undocumented alien, even if you've lived here for 30 years, worked, had children, it's illegal because you entered the U.S. without the proper documentation. So no one is safe.
But your child
Yeah, well,
born here is a citizen because
yes.
of the 14th Amendment. And because of that, this executive order is blatantly unconstitutional and illegal.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why it's being challenged and why the judge put that restraining order, that injunction on it. But there's been other more as egregious illegal things. What else comes to mind that he has done in this first 8 days of blitzing executive orders? What else?
I'm just reading the headline to his presidential action against DEI. This is coming straight out of the White House press release. Ending radical and wasteful government DEI programs and preferencing. That's the headline that goes to the American people, telling you that, you know, we're doing this to help you. We don't need this. Well, we don't need this junk. Again, official misinformation.
I got a funny story. I went to Costco this morning and it was packed with people. Why? They had an egg sale, 2 dozen eggs for $6.79. And people were rioting in the store to get to the eggs because the price of eggs are outrageous. And Trump promised to bring down the price of eggs. I don't know what he's going to do because I don't think he's going to be able to. But that was another one of his.
But you know the other half of that story, right, Alan? Costco is one of the few corporations that maintain their DEI programs.
Oh.
And Al Sharpton actually had a buy-in at a Costco store to, you know, encourage people to keep shopping at Costco because they maintain their DEI initiatives. So between the price of eggs and Al Sharpton, Costco's having a good week.
So I'll give you my Costco story because guess what? My family's kind of sensitive to this. So my daughter, the lawyer, texted 2 days ago, oh, just leaving Costco. Had to break down and sign up because, hey, if they're going to fight for DEI, you know I'm going to support them. So then I texted, let my membership lapse during COVID. My other daughter says, no, you're on my card as my second member or whatever. And she said, yeah, you know, you got to support people who support us. And so I went back to pick up the card. Long story short, no, she had her son as her second person on the her Costco card. But I told the guy, okay, reactivate my own. Look me up. And he looked me up. He said, oh, yeah. That's been a while. Why don't you just rejoin with a new card and everything, and I get you a bonus, and you can even get $50 back, etc. I said, sign me up.
Now that's a minor action, right? But it says a lot about actually putting our money into organizations that, you know, actually defend the people's rights. So minor action, but yeah.
That's exactly right. You got to push back in every way, shape, and form. And when I mean you got to push back, I mean we as Media Watch, we have to call out every one of these things that this guy's doing that we know is illegal, because guess what? I need to give kudos to the New York, the Wall Street Journal. Go ahead, catch me up. What the Wall Street Journal, they came out with their editorial. Do you have anything on them? Because guess what? All of Rupert Murdoch's other arms, like Fox Fake News, they've been applauding this guy, calling him the second JFK, and he's the greatest of all Republican presidents because of the blitzkrieg of executive orders that's killing supposedly woke and DEI initiatives, et cetera, he basically is walking on water as far as those right-wing media. Bob, you were saying that they were quoting right-wing media about applauding their moves at the Department of Education.
Yes, right on their website. Yes.
These other right-wing Rupert Murdoch outlets have been thinking he walks on water. But quote from the Wall Street Journal, if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. Remarkably poor judgment. Wall Street Journal takes a critical eye to start of Trump's second term. Amid all the enthusiasm in conservative media for President Donald Trump's first week in office, the Rupert Murdoch-owned Wall Street Journal has notably applied some brakes. The journal has editorialized against Trump's pardons of January 6 rioters, called presidential appointee Robert F. Kennedy Jr. dangerous to public health, suggested Trump give up the effort to end birthright citizenship, and twice said he was wrong to strip protection of former officials under threat from Iran. Remarkably poor judgment. Now, if the Wall Street Journal can actually be that journalistically smart and have that journalistic integrity to call this guy out for doing what he's been doing, where's Washington Post? Where's the New York Times? Where's the LA Times? I mean, have we seen anything about them at least calling him to task? I didn't look at my Weekend Times editorial section, but I didn't see anything in my inbox that even came close to what the
I have a theory on that.
Mhm.
Maybe it's because a lot of Murdoch's holdings are overseas, and maybe he feels protected from whatever volume of ranting he gets from the White House. I mean, he's Australian to begin with.
No,
And
he's got a
a lot-
citizenship here.
Yeah, I know, but
Let him
a lot of
become
his
a-
assets overseas, London, etc. So he can, and not to say that he doesn't have billions in assets here, but maybe he feels protected. I don't know. That's my guess.
All right. So Journal hit on a couple of other key points that we need to talk about. And I don't know how much time we have, but
About 6 minutes.
the January 6 pardons, I mean, and we need to talk about the January 6 pardons and what that did to the morale. And remember the plaque that was supposed to be put up in the House of Representatives for the law enforcement people that defended our congressional people during January 6th? You understand that our Speaker of the House has yet to get the plaque and put it where it's supposed to be hung. That plaque is sitting in limbo. All right. So that's one finger to law and order and defense of the people who work in Congress who were assaulted and almost lost their lives by crazies on January 6th.
Just to call him out, we're talking Mike Johnson, right?
Yes, Mike Johnson, House Speaker. He has not put that plaque up, and he's basically standing there defending all these executive orders that this man is putting out.
Knowing that police are
The
upset.
fact that it's okay for him to pardon these people who assaulted these police officers on January 6th. Okay, so they're basically telling the country, go F yourself, because we could care less about law and order and about the fact that these people tried to stop our government from functioning properly and assaulted our law enforcement people. So much for the Republican Party and back the blue and law and order. All those pardons says to me, all that's been lip service all these years, which we already knew. We knew all that law and order stuff was just fear tactics to try to get out their base to make sure Democratic people didn't get elected. And so they said, the Democrats are soft on law and order. We are the law and order party. What do these pardons tell you? Okay. The other thing that we need to discuss is this guy totally scammed the country in his first term in office. When we had inspector generals, he still ripped off the country. Now he's just fired 18 inspector generals across the board. Alan talked to us about the role of the inspector generals. when they were put in, right after Watergate or whenever. When the heck did they come in the 1970s?
I'm not positive. But the key thing is that, well, you have to have watchdogs to make sure that people in government are doing the right things so that they're not handing out contracts, they're not taking bribes or favors. You know, in New York City, the mayor, Eric Adams, is facing criminal charges for having illegal dealings with landlords and with Turkey and businesses. Menendez in New Jersey, the former senator, is going to go to jail for doing this. You need special prosecutors and investigators to make sure that people in power obey the rules. Trump is notorious for not obeying the rules. He's already, well, what's his name? Jared, his son-in-law. You know, Trump has said, well, let's just clear Gaza out, clear it out, so his son-in-law can build golf courses and hotels. I mean, Trump is notorious for these kind of borderline illegal kind of things. He was convicted of it. And now, so what's his response? Get rid of the investigators.
The inspector generals have been there basically as the watchdog overseers to make sure the people's tax dollars are not squandered poorly or not used illegally to feather other people's pockets, the way Tammany Hall used to work in New York back in the day, the way what was the Chicago Machine used to work back in the day, the way a whole bunch of other governmental, whether they were local, state, or federal, used to work. Where
And we have about 45 seconds.
They get in power and they'd rip off the institution, and the taxpayers would end up paying the bill. But anyway, folks, this has been Media Watch. Our message, Jim Acosta at the top said, do not give in to tyrants. Push back, basically. And what we're saying is, do not give in. File whatever lawsuits you need. Get out in the streets. Do whatever you need to do on social media, but do not roll over. And like I said, we'll catch you the next time. I'm Eric Tait.
I'm Raymond Peterson.
I'm Alan Singer.
And I'm Bob Anthony. Catch us on YouTube at Media Watch EVT, and very shortly on Blue Sky at Media Watch EVT.
And we might have to watch out for YouTube because it looks like they're trying to censor our posts. We're going to double check on that. We're going to let you know more about that. Thanks for joining us, folks. Stay safe. Catch you the next time.